So, do you want to go traveling but you have no money and you're finding it very difficult to save any money? This is an issue which I see a lot online, not just from my videos, but other people who promote traveling and encourage people to go traveling. A lot of comments I see are just like, yeah, not everyone has the money to go traveling though. Traveling's expensive, not everyone can just quit their job. And whilst there is some sense to that, I genuinely believe a lot of people have the option to be able to go traveling. They just haven't got the commitment and stuff, which we'll come on to in this video. A lot of the points that I'll make in this video are aimed at people similar to me. That's people in their 20s, late teens, who haven't really got that many commitments. Maybe their only commitment is a job or a car. I'm not talking to people who have a mortgage or people who have a family, have kids and stuff like that, because it's definitely not as easy for you lot to just quit and just go traveling. I'm speaking for people who are in a similar situation to me, where they're kind of just working, and if they wanted to go traveling, they definitely could. So let's start off with some points for this video. So first of all, traveling is not as expensive as you think. You might think you need serious money saved up to go traveling. However, in the past, I've done quite a lot of traveling, different trips here and there, and you can keep it very cheap if you want to. I'll use Southeast Asia as an example. This is a great example because Southeast Asia is one of the cheapest places you can travel, particularly for accommodation and for food. It's very cheap. In a place like Thailand, for example, you can make your money last a long time. You can do months of traveling for a couple of £1,000s. You can keep it very cheap. This whole idea that you need so much money to go traveling is a bit of a myth, I think. I've done traveling on about £1,000 for a month or two, which is definitely possible. Yes, you might not be able to do everything you want to do. You might not be able to stay in 5-star resorts. You might have to stay in hostels and share rooms and stuff. First of all, that is part of the traveling experience which you want to get. You don't just want to stay in amazing places all the time, but also it's going to keep your money down, and get comfortable with the idea of living cheaply while you travel, but you can travel for not as much money as you think. The next point is saving for traveling can be done in as little as 6 months or even less, particularly for those of you who are living at home and are not paying any rent or anything. I feel like I didn't take enough advantage of this when I lived at home. I kind of splashed more money on going out, on clothes and stuff. I kind of wish I just saved even more when I was at home and I didn't have bills to pay and stuff. Like, that was amazing. Now I obviously pay rent, I do my food shop, so I spend a lot more money, but even now I'm still able to save money. In Australia I was paying rent, doing stuff on the weekends, doing my food shop, and I was still able to save very good money. So for you guys who are living at home, you can save so much money in such a short space of time. Honestly, between 3 and 6 months of work, you can save enough money to fund your travels for multiple months. For example, when we moved to Perth in Australia, I pretty much had no money. I didn't have much money at all. During that time in Perth, I saved over $10,000. I then travelled to Southeast Asia for 2 months after that and only spent around half of that money that I'd saved. And I had the other half to set me up again after travelling. So you can save for travelling very easily. I think the biggest problem that people have is their money management is terrible, and they spend everything they earn and live paycheck to paycheck, and then complain that they haven't got enough money to travel, and half their money is going on nights out and takeaways and just bullshit like that. You do have to set boundaries, and you do have to manage your money well and make sure you're putting away a certain amount into your savings every single week. But if you do that, you can so easily save enough to go traveling. I guarantee the people that complain that they haven't got money to travel are the exact same people that spend their money on such unnecessary stuff. Obviously, as I said at the start of the video, this doesn't include people with kids and stuff, because you don't have control over where your money goes necessarily with that. I'm talking if you're the sort of people that go out every weekend, you're getting takeaways all the time. If you cut that out for 6 months, you can have the money to go traveling. Honestly, it's worth it. It's so worth it to just knuckle down for that short space of time to then be able to fund your travels. It's knuckling down in the moment to then being able to set yourself up for an amazing time in the future. Another great way of traveling when you don't have much money is just to work while you travel. This is one of the best things you can do, and it's the way that I've kind of done it in my whole journey of traveling, moving abroad, is I've just worked while I've traveled. Yes, there's been times where I've just been traveling for a few months, but I'm always working after that. For example, I moved to Australia. I worked in Sydney, I worked in Adelaide, I worked in Perth, I worked up in Queensland when I did my farm work, and I've worked here in New Zealand. I've pretty much worked everywhere, but it's also allowed me to travel to all of these different places as well, do bits of traveling in between. And I couldn't have, if I'd traveled to all of these places without working, I wouldn't have had enough money, that's for sure. The fact that I'm able to stop in places on the way and work is what funds my future travels. So working while you travel is literally like a cheat code to having the money to travel. You don't have to look at it as you're traveling everywhere. You know, do a few bits, then work for 6 months, then, you know, travel again after that. And the best thing is, when you're working abroad, it kind of feels like you're still traveling sometimes. The next thing you can do is like volunteer. This was something which I never really thought about, but me and my girlfriend did some volunteering in Laos in Southeast Asia, and it was such a cool experience. And one of the best things about it is it's so cheap. Some volunteering, you get given free accommodation with it. Our volunteering, we got fed, we got very cheap accommodation, and we pretty much got loads of free activities with it as well. And it's such a good way to save your money when you're traveling. And also you're gonna get such a unique experience out of it. That was one of my favorite experiences from traveling, compared to just sitting on a beach in Thailand, for example, which was still amazing, but volunteering was such a meaningful experience. And also it was so cheap for us, and it's a great way to prolong your travels. If you want to keep traveling but don't really have much money, do some volunteering for a month, because trust me, it'll be an experience you remember and you're going to save your money. And the last point, quite simply, is set a goal on how much you want to save and the distractions. This is so important. I think if you want to go traveling in 6 months time, work out how much you're going to need to save to fund that travels, and say to yourself, I need to save £200 a week, for example, and just stick to that, and make sure you stick to that no matter what. If you've only got £200 left for that week, don't go out, don't get a takeaway, live very cheaply, and whatever you do, stick to that goal of saving $200 or £200 a week, for example. And if you stick to that goal, you can, like I said, save your money and go traveling within 3 to 6 months. It doesn't take years and years of saving. It's just about that money management in the short term, which can allow you to travel for, well, quite a long time in the future. So the distractions, you have to resist getting a takeaway or going out. You have to say no to things sometimes, and it'll be worth it once you get traveling. So there is some advice on traveling if you have no money. The biggest takeaway from this is I think people have terrible money management. A lot of people can save for traveling if they wanted to, they just choose not to, and they choose to spend their money on bullshit really in the short term, when you just got to say no to a few things and you can easily save the money. So I genuinely believe that so many people can actually go traveling. I think it's the best thing you can do in your early 20s. I moved abroad to Australia and it was such an amazing move. If you do need help with moving abroad and you want to kind of skip the process and save yourself doing a load of research, I have released a moving abroad guide. I'll leave it on the screen and it's in the description, and it takes you through every single step you need to know, so you're not wasting money on hidden costs or having your visa rejected or anything. And it takes you through all the steps you might want to know about working abroad, working as you travel, and stuff like that. So thank you for watching. Get yourself saving some money and get yourself traveling within the next year or so. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.